The email arrived at 6:12 a.m. We're sorry for your loss. Please accept our condolences on the passing of Grace Whitman. Attached are the forms to release her pension benefits to next of kin. I stood in my kitchen robe, coffee cooling in my hand, reading the proof of my own death. An online obituary with my photo, a fake death certificate, and a claim form naming my ex-husband's new wife as beneficiary. I dialed HR with shaking fingers. "This is Grace," I said, "the one you're about to bury." Silence. Then the faint click of keys. "Ma'am, our system shows you as deceased." "Well," I said, steadying my breath, "would you like me to come to my own viewing and prove I'm not?" Before we continue, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, from which part of the world are you listening to this amazing story? Because the person who tried to erase me thought paper was stronger than breath, and they were about to learn otherwise. My name is Grace, and at 65, I figured I'd already survived the big storms. A lean childhood, a son we lost too soon, and a marriage that faded after 30 years, like a photograph left in the sun. When the divorce papers cleared, I kept my little condo in Orlando, my church friends, my part-time library job, and the pension I'd earned from 22 years at a medical billing firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. My mornings were small and happy. Coffee at the window, a rosemary plant in a cracked blue pot, the crossword in ink. On Tuesdays, I volunteered at the thrift store. On Thursdays, I made lemon bars for the security guards at my old office. Life had a shape I could hold. My ex, David, remarried 3 years ago. Her name is Lena, all sleek ponytail and hard smile, 20 years younger, the sort of woman who calls waiters sweetie with a voice that isn't sweet. I wished them well and kept my distance. I thought distance was enough. At work, people still phone me for advice even after I retired. "Grace knows how to find things," they'd say. It was a small joke, but it made me proud. There is a dignity in being dependable, in showing up, in signing your name straight. The first odd thing was mail I didn't receive. A routine pension letter never came. I shrugged it off, blamed the post office, and forgot. Then Ricky, David's son from his first marriage, called out of nowhere. He'd always been polite to my face and distant behind my back, a boy whose eyes slid off you like rain off glass. "How are you, Grace?" he asked too brightly. "Just checking in." Checking in turned into checking on. He wanted to know if I still lived alone, if my building had a concierge, if I kept important papers at home. I laughed and gave him nothing, but his questions clung like cobwebs. Next, a woman from an estate solution service left a voicemail offering discreet assistance consolidating accounts during difficult transitions. Who had told her I was transitioning? Another call came from a funeral home I'd never heard of, asking who would handle arrangements for Miss Whitman. I phoned back to correct the mistake. They apologized. The apologies began to feel like footsteps behind me in the dark. Still, I told myself, "You're being dramatic. Eat something. Turn off the news. Go water the rosemary." The turning point was that email with my obituary. It listed my birth year, my church, even my favorite pie, which felt like a theft more intimate than money. The obituary said I'd died peacefully at home. The death certificate named a county I'd never lived in and a doctor who didn't exist. I called Miss Patel in HR at my old firm. Years ago, we'd traded recipes and laughed about the way toggles moved on new software. "Grace," she said now, voice fragile, "I don't know how this happened." A claim came in from your ex's household. It had everything. We followed the checklist. "My ex's household," I repeated like swallowing glass. "We put a temporary hold after your email," she added quickly, "but legal will need to see you. The forms require live verification in complex cases. I'm so sorry for your—" She stopped herself. "For this? Then I'll come," I said. "If they want a viewing, they'll get a viewing." I hung up, set down my coffee, and looked at my reflection in the microwave door. Alive, yes, but suddenly, very erased. I'd imagined betrayal as a single blow. It wasn't. It was a season. Small shocks on repeat until your hands forget how to be steady. In 3 days, my phone filled with notices. Utilities regretfully informed they'd closed accounts for the deceased. A pharmacy texted about canceling refills for Grace's estate. I marched into each office with my driver's license and a voice I barely recognized. They fixed what they could and looked at me like I was a miracle that made their shift harder. At night, I reread the obituary, searching for fingerprints. Who had written the line about my lifelong love of thrifted teacups? Only a handful of people knew that. I thought of Lana standing in my old kitchen years ago, running a manicured finger along the dusty rim of my teacup shelf as though measuring it for removal. David texted, "Call me, it's not what you think." I didn't answer. Then Lena called, voice thin with false shock. "Grace, oh my goodness, we just heard. Is there anything we can do?" "You can stop," I said, "whatever this is." She tasked softly, "Grief makes people lash out." Ricky left a single line on my voicemail. "I'm sorry for all of it." Not sorry for what? For asking about my papers? For the obituary written like a poem about a stranger? I thought of my son. We lost him long ago to an accident no one could undo. I'd learned then that in grief, paperwork is a second death. The forms you sign with your hand shaking, the boxes you check for widow, the way the world insists on your loss in triplicate. Whoever did this wasn't just greedy, they were cruel. I put my documents in order, tape-labeled a folder if I forget, and slept with the lamp on. The next morning, I brought the obituary and death certificate to Detective Klein at the precinct, a woman with a tired bun and kind eyes. She studied the printouts. "You know the name of the funeral director?" she asked. "Never heard of him." She traced a finger under a seal. "This county stamp is wrong, and this doctor's license doesn't exist. Somebody got bold." "Somebody used my life like a blank form," I said. "We'll pull IP logs from the obituary site, request camera footage from where the death certificate was filed," she said businesslike. "But fraud that uses pieces of truth spreads fast. We need to contain it. I called Miss Patel." "Let me come in," I said, face to face. "Legal wants to verify in person," she said carefully. "We'll schedule a meeting." She hesitated. "The claimant wants to attend." "Of course she does," I said, and put the phone face down until my palms cooled. That night, I sat at my little desk and made a list. It's what I know how to do when the wind rises. Make a list and choose the next right thing. On the list, HR meeting, recorded witnesses, security, legal, union rep. I still knew by name. Copies, 3 sets, notarized outfit, something bright, alive. On impulse, I added flowers, because if they wanted a viewing, let it be a living one. Klein called back with a small gift. "The obituary was posted from a home network tied to your ex-husband's address," she said. "David's? Registered to Lena," she said. "We'll confirm." "Sit tight. And Grace, don't go alone to anyone's house." I wasn't going to anyone's house. I was going to mine, the HR suite I'd walked for 2 decades, with a folder they could not ignore and a pulse you could hear from the doorway if you tried. Every plan begins with the smallest thing you can control. Mine began with a dress, the only red one I owned, the color of tomatoes in July and choir sashes on Easter. I packed my folder, passport, license, social security card, pension enrollment, 30 years of stubs. I baked a tin of muffins for the security desk because kindness is a hinge that opens doors even on bad days. Ms. Patel arranged the meeting for Friday at 10 a.m. "Legal will be present," she said, and the claimant. "Lena," a pause. "She listed herself as your widow's representative on David's behalf. There's also a notarized affidavit from..." Ricky air left my body like a tire slashed. "His son signed an affidavit." It appears so. Grace, if you prefer, we can... No, I said. Let them come. Detective Klein asked to attend as an observer. Public building, private matter. But fraud is our lane. Have you considered bringing a friend? I asked B from church, a nurse with a jaw like a lighthouse who's hauled me through more storms than I can name. B squeezed my hand. You speak softly. I'll make eye contact, she said, and if anyone tries to rush you, I'll cough. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I sat with my plant and my memories. There is a violence to erasure that only the erased can explain. But there is also a counter-ritual, showing up in daylight with your name and the courage to say it. If they wanted a viewing, I was going to stage one, myself alive, with witnesses and cameras and a bright red dress that refused to blend into carpet. At dawn, I added one more thing to the list. Ask David why. Not for him, he'd made his choices, but for me. You can't heal around a blank. We arrived 10 minutes early with a bouquet of fresh rosemary from the farmer's market, its scent sharp and clean. I set it on the conference table like a joke only I got. Ms. Patel hugged me, eyes bright. Security adjusted a body cam. Legal set up a small recorder. Detective Klein sat near the back, pen poised. Then they entered. Lena, in a pale suit and grief makeup, eyes wide with the practiced innocence of a woman used to getting away with things. David behind her, smaller than I remembered, shoulders tired, and Ricky, holding a manila envelope like a hot coal. Grace, David started, hands out. This is a misunderstanding. Sit, I said gently. Let's misunderstand together. Legal began. We're here to resolve a claim dispute. Ms. Whitman, we must verify identity. I placed my passport, license, Medicare card, and a decades-old photo ID from the firm on the table in neat rows. I'm right here, I said, and the recorder caught how steady my voice was. B coughed like a foghorn. People smiled despite themselves. Lena leaned toward the documents, rehearsed sympathy melting. Anyone could forge these, she said lightly. You'd know, B murmured. Ms. Patel clicked a remote. The wall monitor lit with the online obituary, then split to show IP posting data and a map. Detective? Klein stood. This obituary was posted from a network registered to your home, Mrs. Whitman. Mrs. Whitman, B snapped, then sat back on her hands. And this death certificate, Klein continued, was filed using a fake county seal. The notary who stamped the claim form has reported her seal stolen. She turned to Ricky. Mr. Alvarez, your affidavit places Ms. Whitman's personal papers in long-term storage. Where would that be? Ricky looked at the table, skin thin with shame. I don't know. Try again, Klein said, gentle and relentless. Or I can read the part where you describe the box with the word important on masking tape. Stop, David said hoarsely. Please, this is embarrassing. He turned to me. Grace, I'm sorry. I didn't what? I asked. Didn't read the form you signed? Didn't ask whose idea this was? Didn't wonder why your ex-wife's obituary knew her favorite teacups? Silence. Lena's gaze flicked to Ricky, then back to me, calculating the odds. Fraud? She scoffed. We were grieving. If someone on our team made a mistake, your team, B said. What are you, a heist? Ms. Patel breathed in, then spoke with the calm of a woman who lives by process. We require live verification for contested claims. To all parties. Consider this the viewing. She turned to me. Grace, would you please confirm your full name for the record? Grace Elaine Whitman, I said, born May 9th, 1959. And are you deceased? Not today, I said. Laughter broke like a window letting in air. Klein set down a small clear bag with a thumb drive. On this drive are drafts of the obituary saved on a laptop we can place in your house. Mrs. Witt, Lena. We have emails coordinating notarizations. We have a search history for how to report a death for benefits. We have a text from you to Ricky that reads, "Once it's filed, money comes fast." She looked at David. "Do you want to hear it out loud or read it in private?" David's face crumpled. "Jesus, Lena," he whispered. "What did you do?" Lena's mask slipped. "What everyone does," she snapped. "We're drowning." Her pension is sitting there while she plays at being saintly. "Don't act shocked, plays?" I asked softly. "I cleaned your father's apartment when he was sick. I sat in court while you wore white." I looked at David. "I learned how to live without you and wished you well." Why wasn't that enough? There are rooms where a single person's decision shifts the air. This was one. Ricky's chair scraped. He stood, hands shaking. "I forged the first affidavit," he blurted. "Lena said it was just paperwork. I thought it was victimless." He swallowed. "I'm sorry." "Which part?" B asked. "The theft or the funeral you planned for a woman who can hear you?" Ricky looked at me like a boy again, a boy who'd been handed lies as truth and swallowed them to belong. "The part where I didn't stop it," he said. Legal slid a paper forward. "Given live verification, this claim is denied. We are initiating an internal review and, given the detective's evidence, cooperating with law enforcement." Klein nodded. "Expect charges," she said to Lena, "for fraud, identity theft, and filing a false instrument. Mr. Alvarez cooperating will matter." David sat down as if someone had taken out his spine. "Grace," he said, voice wrecked, "I didn't know the half of it. I saw the obituary and I panicked. I signed what I was given. That was the half," I said, not unkindly. "The half where you sign and don't ask why your name is on a stranger's death." He cried quietly. It surprised me how little joy his tears gave me. Revenge is hot in the imagining and quiet in the room where the truth sits down. I reached into my tote and took out the rosemary. "Tradition says rosemary is for remembrance," I said. "I brought it as a joke." "It isn't funny now. Remember this instead. I am alive. My life is not a form to be filed. My name is not a bank you rob." Klein stood. "This meeting is recorded," she said, "for anyone tempted to misunderstand later." Miss Patel, who had held herself like a beam through a storm, turned to me with wet eyes and a firm nod. "Grace, we'll add an always in-person verification rule for any reported death. Your case will protect people you'll never meet." That, more than any handcuffs I hoped would click later, felt like justice. The fallout came in waves. Lena was charged. She pled down, but not out of consequences. Restitution, probation, a record that will follow her name longer than any hyphen. Ricky gave a full statement, did community service, and sent me a letter that didn't excuse anything, and therefore mattered more. David mailed a check with a dense apology on expensive stationery. I returned it with a note. "I don't want your money. I want you to read before you sign." He called once, and I picked up. We spoke like people at the edge of a lake, each to our own shore. There are apologies that repair and apologies that release. Ours did the second, and that was enough. At the firm, Ms. Patel's live verification rule rolled out company-wide. My case became a training video, my face blurred except for my hands laying down documents in neat rows, the red sleeve vivid. "When in doubt," the narrator says, "choose the living thing." My condo went back to its quiet rhythm. I learned the names of the new guards and brought muffins again. The rosemary by my door flourished as if it had been waiting for sun. On Sundays, B and I laughed too loud at church announcements, and no one shushed us. That's the thing about surviving. You get louder in the places that matter. Sometimes people ask if I felt vengeful standing in that conference room, watching a woman who tried to erase me come undone. I didn't. I felt verified. There's a difference. Revenge says, I win. Verification says, I am. If someone ever tries to write you out with a form, remember this. Ink is not authority. Presence is. Show up. Say your full name. Bring a friend who coughs at the right time. Wear a color that refuses to be a ghost. And plant something that smells like memory by your door. I still keep a folder labeled, "If I Forget," because life is long and brains are funny. Inside is everything my niece will need if the day comes when I really am gone. I don't fear that day. It's the fake ones we must guard against. And if this story meets you in a season where someone's trying to take what you built, your pension, your peace, your good name, hear me. You are allowed to be hard to steal from. You are allowed to be here. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't payback, it's proof. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.